Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tony King. I'm a photographer. I make photography content here on YouTube. So if you enjoy what you see here today, please consider subscribing to the channel and sticking around for more content. Today I'm going to start a short series of videos where I'm talking about images that I took in Croatia. I recently took a trip to Venice, Italy, which is actually where I'm from. And from there, I also went to Croatia, which is somewhere I'm not from and which I'd never been to. And one thing that I talked about in my Venice photography videos is how being from there is actually an advantage for me because these are places that I've already seen and already been to. Therefore, it's a lot easier for me to kind of detach from the whoa of something new, of something like this, and not treat it as something new. And I can look beyond what you might see at your first glance. So in Croatia, I was very cognizant of the fact that I need to take in what I'm seeing, but I also need to, be active in looking beyond just the surface and trying to get interesting images. So today I have 7 images from just a general vibe of Croatia. We're staying in kind of a rural area, so it's not just a very big populated cities, but this is going to be part of a series of videos where I talk about different aspects, some different towns, some different scenes that I found in Croatia, things I learned as a photographer. So let's just jump into it. The first image is a very matter-of-fact shot of this tiny church in Rabac, Croatia, which is very close to where we were staying. I kind of walked here. It was a 30-minute walk. It was really nice walk actually. And this kind of just gives the vibe of a very small town, very small area, and kind of there's history everywhere you go. And that's something that I was looking for and looking to highlight, that within like this street, within these street signs that are modern that you can recognize anywhere in the world, stop sign that literally just says stop, and it's like any stop sign you'd ever see, there's this church that's very small and clearly very old. In Rabac, this is an image that I really like. It had a lot of layers to it as I'm shooting past this car into this bus stop with this guy sitting there kind of waiting on a bus or whatever. There's interesting signage on the left, and then there's a guy who's like laughing with the guy who's sitting there, but there's like a bullet hole of some sort or something like on the centered, which I think is an interesting layer to it. But here we're kind of seeing a little bit of kind of the geometry of one of these kind of rural towns. Like, the sign is pretty worn up and there's like some sort of hole through the glass. I don't know if it's a bullet hole or if somebody like stabbed it with an axe or something. I don't know, but there's a little bit of that, the geometry, like I said, of one of these tiny towns, and a bit of story with 2 locals there, which I think is pretty cool. We're looking at the, as the sun's rising, just a regular house, nothing like too involved. We're just looking over like some bushes at a house, and just like the shape of it. I'm not giving away too much about it, but the lighting is really nice on it. The sky is this kind of like still kind of darkish blue tint with the nice clouds in the distance. They almost look like they're not high, but they are very high. They're just far away. And all these dark qualities while the golden sun is highlighted on the brightly colored house. So to me, this is like a rural house that is pretty interesting and pretty cool looking in this moment of the day. Next, we're gonna go ahead and jump into Pula, or Paula. I don't know which is preferred in Croatian, but in English it's pronounced Pula. And we're going up to this famous fort, and I'll definitely have some images to share of that in my Pula specific video. But I think this is one of those where I'm photographing the path I'm taking, and I really like how the light was hitting and kind of how we're seeing the paths wind ahead with this interesting railing that's very unique and particular to this location. And this image works in tandem with the previous image because I'm looking through kind of this interesting railing at a roof at some of these European style roofs that are super beautiful to look at. But instead of just taking a picture of the roof, how about I look at it through an object, which is this layering that I'm using here of this fancy railing, of this walkway that I was taking. So to me, that adds a little bit of depth and intrigue and kind of specific way to look at this type of roof rather than just taking a picture of just a roof. This is actually totally not in Pula. This is in Turget. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's spelled like Target in English without an A. I kind of drove out there. It was really far out there. I didn't realize I was going to somewhere so far out there, but kind of drove over there by myself one morning, and there was all these boats in this marina. It was really, really beautiful. And I really liked this image that I got of this boat out there. Sometimes with these, I'm like, how are people getting to their boats? But for this image, I took one first, and then I was like, wait, I can get that a little bit better. So I crouched and kind of took it from a more even level, which I think gives a more matter-of-fact look to the boat. And sometimes, really, I've said it 100 times on my channel, so subscribe if you're new here. Or actually, well, I don't want to say that I'm always repeating myself, but one of the things that I think is very important is you take a picture or you find a subject, and then you think for a moment, what happens if I go a little left, go a little right, go a little up, go a little down, diagonal, whatever you want to do to like add a little bit of interestingness to this image. And this wasn't to add something in front of the image, it was to get the subject, which is this boat, in a slightly more interesting way than the original image. So this is one I actually quite like, the blue water and kind of the orangey tinted like tarp over the boat. Really nice colors for this image. Very cool vibe. There was a lot of cats in Croatia, and I'm a cat lover. I love my cat. I love cats in general. And so this cat was very curious, was like, do you guys got food? And I don't know, this shot turned out really, really nice. I was nervous because it was such a dark black cat that I wasn't gonna be able to get, like if I was gonna get details on it, the background was gonna be out of focus or whatever, but it turned out really, really nice. Like its eyes and expression are super visible and beautiful, whereas like the bokeh around it is not overexposed, and it's nice and swirly and very bokeh-y, let's say. And you can see like the kind of the atmosphere around it with these branches coming in over the wall it's walking on. So this is a really cute shot for me as a cat shot in Croatia. I was able to get it with good focus and really nice bokeh, if you ask me. Well, this is my first video on Croatia. Stick around, subscribe to the channel definitely for some more photos of Croatia. I'm definitely going to be talking about some more specific ideas, some more specific places and how I covered them. And one of the interesting things that I was able to do kind of exploring Croatia is seeing a couple of different scenes. So I'll have some videos breaking down, kind of things that I did well and things that I want to improve upon when I'm trying to capture a scene. So stick around for that. And I've been Tony King.